G'day guys, my name's Alex. Welcome to the Physio page. Today I'm going to take you through a lower body mobility session that's going to get you fired up before your gym session and just have you ready to get under the bar and start squatting. Now I, like many other people, have always kind of skipped through my warm-ups a little bit. I'll just jump on my foam roller and then I'll just get under the bar and off I go. But this isn't the best way to get yourself primed and ready to move. We shouldn't be warming up underneath the bar as we go. We want to make sure that when we get to our warm-up sets for like a squat, for example, we've already gone through some activation, some mobility, and some primers. So primers meaning just some exercise that's going to really get us firing and getting us ready and potentiated for our exercises. So what you'll learn from this video is a 10-minute lower body mobility warm-up, activation, potentiation, primer, all those great words, but essentially it's just going to get you ready to get underneath the bar and have a great lower body session. So let's get into it.
So let's begin with some lumbar rocks. We want to make sure when doing lumbar rocks that our torso and our legs move independently of each other. More like the windscreen wipers on a car, we want our legs to just sort of fall to the side in this arcing, rocking type motion. Take your time with this, make sure that you're getting a nice mobility movement in the lower back. Once we finish with that, I just go straight into a lumbar rotation, sustained rotations, and then I start to move the top half, so I keep my bottom side fixed. The key here is to get that top underside shoulder out, so in this case it's my right shoulder. Really rotate that out to the side. This will get that twisting in that lumbar spine and thoracic junction, and then we just move our arm over and rinse and repeat on the other side. A great way just to warm up that lower back and get the thoracic moving a little bit as well. I then go into straight leg raise. I like this to get my hamstrings moving. Anyone that is doing like a lower body day, whether you're doing cleans or deadlifts or RDLs, it's good to get your posterior sling moving nice and early. Also then just straight into a single leg bridge. So tucking the pelvis underneath ourselves, so posteriorly tilting the pelvis and driving up through the heel. Engage the hammies, engage the glutes. Make sure you don't feel that one in your back. From there I just go into a scorpion stretch. For my own personal rehab, I like scorpions. It's just a great way to get my lumbar spine moving. However, this is not for everyone. And if you had to remove one of my exercises, this would be the one that I would suggest. And you can put this in with the personal stretch that you might need or feel is better for you. So feel free to put your own personal one in there. I then go into a lumbar extension. So this is a cobra exercise. I like this if I'm going to be doing things like back hypers or glute bridges, anything where I have to work into extension. So great exercise for anyone that's moving into sort of back arching during their lower body workout. Start with my arms further out in front of the body and start moving them back in towards me. The closer my hands come in towards me, the more extension. I don't like to finish on an extension pattern because what we're doing is closing down our facet or lower back joints. I like to eventually finish in an open flex position. I like a prayer stretch for that exact reason. Once again, it may not necessarily be for you. This is just because I like to make sure that I don't finish on an extension, but I finish on a flexion. This is important for most people, is to get your ankles moving. If you're doing any form of squatting exercise, you do need to have reasonable ankle mobility so that when you're squatting down, you're using your knees over your toes. And it is totally fine for you to squat with your knees over your toes. I encourage it. It's not bad for your knees. All that stuff is just a big myth that's sort of floated around the internet for far too long. For the same reason as we do ankle mobility, we want to do squat mobility. If we're doing squat exercises, we want to use a deep squat hold. Now, I am not passively sitting in the hole here, although I am quite mobile in my ankles, which allows me to get deep. I'm active in this squat. I'm pushing my legs out a bit with my elbows, but I'm not just sitting there. I'm actually holding myself off the ground just that little bit so that I'm active here. So this is an activation exercise. A Spider-Man is kind of an activation exercise because you're holding a lunge. I'm not just passively falling, I'm actually holding myself up here. So it's a mobility and activation exercise. I'm opening up the anterior part of my hip, getting my hip flexor and quad just that little bit looser. Do this on both sides. Spider-Mans are a great exercise for you to open up that quad, open up the hip flexor, as well as getting a bit of external rotation on that front leg, as you can see there. So from here, we finish on the other side and then we get into our next exercise. I like to keep my activation quite simple. Single leg RDLs are fantastic to warm up your posterior side. So much like the bridge, we want to warm up our glutes, hamstrings. If you find balancing quite difficult, there is no shame or harm in holding onto the wall to make sure you keep your back in a nice position. I probably need to be a little bit flatter on my back here, but it's a great way to warm up those hamstring and glutes. Use something to work on your balance if you need to, like hold on to something. It's not a balance exercise, it is a warm up. So make sure you're holding on to something if you need to. I like walking lunges to warm up for any of my lower body days. It gets me in that split leg position. It makes my quads work, it makes my glutes work, and we're going to use these a lot in any proper lower body workout. So the kettlebell on the shoulder also adds a little bit of extra stability, and then I'll go into a clock lunge. So a clock lunge, you work in 4 different planes. So you go front, back, and side, but obviously you're doing both sides. I finish in that athletic position just to work on my calf a little bit. However, this is not for everyone. You don't have to, just my personal preference. So front, back, sides, clock lunge, great way to warm up, explore mobility. Pogos as a primer. I just like to feel bouncy. I like to feel elastic. I like athletes to make sure they're feeling good and moving quickly. Pogos are a great way just to get the calves involved, make sure we're feeling nice and springy. I would just add in a set or 2 of about 10 repetitions just to get yourself nice and springy. Make sure your knees aren't bending too much. They're more just like snapping straight to get yourself up. Your ankles are nice and stiff here. Keep your toes in that upright position just to make sure that you'll contact the ground and you're exploding back up. My main lower body primer is a box jump. Explode up, use your legs. Really great full body movement, important for anyone that's doing a squat variation of some description. So this is probably my number 1 favorite primer for any form of squatting exercise. If I know I'm going to do heavy hinge exercises, I will add in a broad jump because you get into that loaded hinge and explode out. So things like RDLs and deadlifts, which are hinge patterns, I like to add this exercise in. So I hope you enjoy your new warm-up with mobility, activation, and primers. If you have any questions, please let me know. But otherwise, if you could just leave me that cheeky little like and maybe a subscribe if you could. I'll see you in another video. Thanks very much.